What's up, guys, and welcome to Gamescript. Tonight, we're looking at the Miami Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills. It's a 48.5-point total with Buffalo as 2.5-point dogs in this one. We got a massive injury situation that's going to impact Miami's backfield tonight, and it's not necessarily all on Miami's side. We're going to break down lineups, and we're going to break down situations with and without Achane in the captain or lineups in general right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports. Today, I'm joined by Spread Astaire. We're going to break down this Miami versus Buffalo game on Thursday Night Football. Spread, what's going on, man? How's it going?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited for tonight's game. Normally, we like to play the under in these games. I did not play it. I didn't play the over either, but I think it's got some potential for a track meet. Tough for me to pull the trigger on a primetime over, but that's the way I'm leaning right now, which is pretty rare.
Yeah. I'm interested in hearing your takes on this game. We're going to be building some DraftKings Showdown lineups on the show as always. And if you've been watching the last, week one, basically, we just crushed on every slate. Every slate was hitting the short videos, especially giving out those picks. So you're going to want to like the video because when we get 30 likes, that's what triggers the shorter video later on today. You're going to want to subscribe to the channel because those shorter videos will come out a little bit closer to lock when we have more information out. So you're going to want to sign up for alerts, and you do that by subscribing to the channel and hitting the little alarm bell. So make sure you do that, and you won't miss the shorter video later on. So Spread, looking at this game, like, what is your breakdown? What is your handicap on this game tonight?
So I'm excited to see Miami bounce back. They've had problems against Buffalo. Josh Allen, 10-2 in his career against the Miami Dolphins. Sean McDermott, 8-5-1 against the spread against the Miami Dolphins. So not only are they they're winning by margin. It's not a huge margin because we know it's a division game, and so they won't pump those numbers up too high regardless of how each team is. And Tua Tagovailoa is only 1-6 in his career against the Buffalo Bills. However, this is the weakest Bills defense I think we've seen in McDermott's full tenure. And one of the problems with this team on defense is they look slow. And there's no team that's better equipped to exploit that than the Miami Dolphins, who boast speed everywhere, even at backup running back, right? I know we're going to talk about Achane, but even if he sits, Jaylen Wright is almost just as fast. So I like the way that the Dolphins look tonight, and I think that they have a chance to kind of break that streak tonight. Normally, I like to ride these streaks, so I'm going against somewhat what I usually think, but I think the Dolphins can get a win. What other advantage I think that they have is I think being on the road on these 3-game weeks, which I don't really want to go into a huge rant on, but it's not enough time to prepare. I think it's a big disadvantage to the road team because it's one extra day for Miami to prepare where Buffalo has to travel.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. And I think that, you're right about this running back situation. There's going to be a couple scenarios we'll build for. We'll build for, Achane in, and we'll build for Achane out. And we'll cover a couple angles there. Mostert is out, though. That's significant on the Miami side because I think that's what's going to get Jaylen Wright dressed tonight. And Jeff Wilson will also be dressed tonight as well. But we saw like Achane last year where he got a significant amount of work over Jeff Wilson when people were expecting Jeff Wilson, the veteran, to get majority of the work. Then Achane just came in and he made his mark on the team, and it was like off to the races from there. If you looked in the preseason game, Jaylen Wright and Jeff Wilson both played in a game and ended up being targets in favor of Jaylen Wright. So I think if Achane is out tonight, I think Jaylen Wright will probably take that spot in the passing game, or at least on passing downs, which will be significant because there's an injury on Buffalo's side that we can get into in a little while. But let's get into some lineup building here, Spread. and take a look at what we're looking here for the player pool. Tyreek Hill, spread was very high on Tyreek Hill in the pre-show. Spread, why don't you go into your breakdown on Tyreek here?
We've talked again about how speed is really going to be the nemesis of this Buffalo Bills defense. And we saw that as it completely changed the game last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. First, the Jaguars have that back-breaking turnover, but what really made it bad was that Tyreek Hill took a normal 30 to 40-yard reception where normally the defensive back had the angle, push him out of bounds, and they regroup and they try and hold him to 3. He just made an incredible play, and nobody really can stop that speed. So what I'm doing is I'm looking to attack a slower Buffalo Bills defense that lacks speed in the secondary against the fastest player in the NFL. So I really like Tyreek Hill. Not to mention, I do believe there is a little bit of team building or some camaraderie with what Hill went through on his way to the stadium. I think that brings the team a little closer together because I'm sure he's not the only one on the team that's experienced something like that with the majority of those players coming from the background that they do come from. So I think the team's going to be motivated to get Hill involved. I think he wants to have a big game, and just that speed is something you can't teach and you can't scheme against.
Yeah, great touchdown celebration by Tyreek, making fun of that situation last week, by the way. Yeah, definitely agree with you. I think there's going to be some solidarity there, which is good. I think Josh Allen will be, Josh Allen and Tyreek are going to be the highest owned captains. I think they're both projected over 20% this week. Josh Allen has dominated Miami in the past. He has extremely lacking on offensive weapons this season, but we're going to see how that shakes out as the season goes on. Last week, it was Keon Coleman that got the most targets. I think he had like a 20% target share. It'll be interesting to see where they go tonight. Dalton Kincaid, of course, everyone before the season expecting him to be the major target in this offense. So we'll see if he gets a bigger opportunity in the game tonight. So that'll be interesting as far as our captain selection as well. What are your thoughts there on Kincaid, Spread?
Yeah, I'm not ready to write Kincaid off. It's funny because when we look at the Arizona Cardinals situation and how Marvin Harrison dudded out, for those of you guys who played him last Sunday, it's like, well, Kyler already has chemistry with McBride. And we thought that same thing was going to happen with Allen and Kincaid, who seemed to be really picking up last year. Now, I think that was just a one-game thing. I still think they have big plans to get him involved. And I think just the way that it worked out against Arizona, they didn't necessarily look his way. But I'm in for a big Kincaid bounce back tonight. I'm not ready to write him off, and I'm sure if you drafted him in best ball with those high picks, the 3rd or 4th round picks, probably 4th or 5th, but he will. I think he'll still pay off for you. I wouldn't be panicking just yet.
Yeah, in this matchup last year, I think with Joe Brady was the offensive coordinator at that point. He had 8 targets against Miami. So I wouldn't write him off either. And I think with his ownership being projected at around 5%, he makes it for a captain. He makes an interesting captain option, but we'll get into that in a minute here. Spread, knowing what we know, like with your interest in Tyreek, do you want to start doing a build here with Tyreek in the captain?
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this works out. So let's get it started. So I think that we're really, and this is where you're actually better than me, Simon. I want to end up doing some dumpster diving on this build. I want to get both quarterbacks involved because I want the correlation with Tua. And I just believe that Allen is just, I don't know. I think it's been really hard to keep him out of lineups tonight. Yeah. Just because the rushing upside, and we saw that with him. And I saw another big game where I really thought it made the difference was the Steelers game. With Justin Fields, but it's just when the guys drop back, everybody's covered and they're going to get the first down on a 3rd and 5, a 3rd and 7. And we saw that with Allen in the comeback. And I felt that in the first half, he tried to stay away from it and tried to be the traditional quarterback. And then when the game was on the line, he picked it up. I think Miami's going to put pressure on them on offense. I do actually project a shootout, even though I wasn't brave enough to bet an over. And that's the case. If Allen's playing from behind, he's going to get a ton of yards on the ground, and he's going to be throwing the ball a lot. So if we put both quarterbacks in, though, we only have 4K left. So who do we like on this lower? To make this work, we're going to have to hit. Who do you like in the value spots tonight? I see Jeff Wilson Jr. is only 2,400. Jalen Wright's only 2,000.
Yep.
I think. Go ahead.
I would say let's build this first one, assuming that Achane is out. Although they're very optimistic that he's going to play, but if Achane is out, then I think we can plug in both those running backs spread.
Okay, so I like Jeff Wilson no matter what.
Okay,
because I think he'll take the Mostert role. And if Achane plays, I know that we all drafted a bunch of Jaylen Wright around 150 in best ball. And, this was the situation we were hoping for. But I think they'll give Wilson a majority of the snaps just because of the versatility. Having Wilson involved means that they'll have better blitz pickups because he knows the system better. He's been in that Shanahan system, right? He came over, right? He was on the Niners. And then when McDaniel, is it plural or singular with him? I always get it mixed up. Is it McDaniel?
I want to say it's plural.
Okay, we'll do that for the rest of the show. And if we're wrong, our apologies to the coolest coach in Miami. But McDaniel's brought him over. He knows the scheme well, and I think he gives him more versatility because I can keep him in on pass plays, and it'll be more of a disguise. He also isn't bad out of the backfield too, right? So we have Wilson in there, and now we have 4,900 left. So I don't know if we have to put both of them in there.
One thing that I'll say, like that would be my argument for putting Wright in there as well, is that if you listen to the local analysts for Miami, they're talking about how basically they were incorporating Achane as a third receiver in that offense. They basically want him to be the slot receiver, right?
Yeah.
And so they've kind of designed their offense around Achane as a slot receiver. And the defensive end who defends slot receivers on Buffalo is out. Taron Johnson is out. So I think that Miami is going to be targeting like that slot position or whoever they have running those routes a lot. And I think if you look at the preseason, like split between the targets, at least in the final game between Jaylen Wright and Jeff Wilson that they played together, Wright was in favor of those targets. I think it was like a 4-2 or something like that. So if we're thinking that maybe like Jaylen Wright takes over that passing game work for Achane if he's out, and he gets that slot work, and they decide to use Jaylen Wright like they would have used Achane in the passing game, and maybe like I think last week. Let's check and see how many targets Achane had last week. Last week he had 7 targets, right? So if we can pencil in 5 targets for Jaylen Wright at 2K, I think he can easily pay that off with his speed. Like we could be looking at like 10 DraftKings points to be conservative for Jaylen Wright if that situation happens. We need Achane to be out for this situation to happen. But 2K for 10 DraftKings points, I'll take that. Like, what are your thoughts there, Spread?
Yeah, put him in. You land on Kincaid, and I just entered it.
There we go. So
remember, I tell you, I always enter lineups while we're on the show. So I've already got one in.
Yeah. So I mean, like, and this one is beautiful too.
For everybody watching, though, watch the news.
Right.
If Achane's rolled in, you got to switch this lineup.
Yeah.
So let's use the same start, and we'll assume that Achane's in.
Okay.
Because that would let them know what they need to switch to. Because if you're not going to be around at 5 p.m. or 8 p.m. or whatever time it would be, right, when you're going to find out, I think it's going to be tough to play this type of build.
Right.
If I it almost sucks because you have to play above. I almost want to build a Buffalo build if I'm going to be busy today, right? If I'm building it right now this morning and I'm not going to have a chance to to keep up, I'll probably build a Buffalo heavy build because I feel like, that's safer. So
the funny thing is like when I built in the optimizer, it came in like 5-1 in favor of Miami because Miami has like the more clarity. So if you want to take advantage of like uncertainty, then you want to go heavier on Buffalo's side. I think if we want to play with Achane in, we have to really pick between Achane and Tua if we're going to have Tyreek in the captain. So which one of those guys would you lean, Spread?
Tua.
So you want Tua instead of Achane?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think we put Jeff Wilson in no matter what, though.
Okay. So you think Jeff
because
Wilson,
I think he's the safer play. Because I think that he's going to pay off regardless of its Achane or Wright. I think Jeff Wilson's going to get all the most air work. Even if Achane plays, he's not going to play 100% of the snaps. And you talked about the easy ability to pay off. He's versatile. At only 2,400, Wilson's as close to a core play as I have today.
Gotcha.
Okay. It's a low price, and I think he's going to get plenty of work.
So if we're looking at that build, we're looking at 9,800 in salary remaining with 4,900 per guy. I don't think I'd put Wright in, obviously, if Achane is in, because his value is going to come if Achane is out. So who would we want in those two remaining spots? And this is assuming that Achane is playing.
Okay, so there's a couple ways we can go about this. If you want to get aggressive, I'm going Waddle Berrios. But that's almost a Miami blowout build.
Yep.
What would be a more balanced way to approach that? Because I don't know if I like that so much.
If I was looking for a balanced way to approach that, Kincaid, I think makes a lot of sense. So let's plug him in and see what we're looking at with remaining salary. We're looking at Knox, Johnson, Wright, guys like that. Let's take Kincaid out. Let's put in Keon Coleman because Coleman had
I like Coleman there.
Yeah. That leaves us with Bill, Dolphins D.
I don't want to play defenses tonight. I mean, if you want to get different, but for the majority of these, I'm not going to play defenses tonight.
Okay. You got Jonnu Smith as well. So, I mean, you basically, if you didn't want to play the defense, you have Jonnu Smith, Dawson Knox, Johnson. I think Johnson's hurt, though, so I don't think he's going to necessarily suit up. But you got Valdez Scantling. You do have options. Like it's and considering Tyreek's in the captain.
I would probably finish this off with Jonnu or Matt Collins.
Yeah. I think Matt Collins makes a lot of sense, too, because he was he's another one of those uncertain pieces in in
let's throw Matt Collins in that one, and you leave some money on the table. It'd be a little unique.
Yeah. So you'd have a few thousand if you put him in there.
All right.
So I want to try to
Tyreek captains in there. What else should we do?
I want to try to do like if Achane's playing, I want him in the captain.
Okay, let's try that.
Let me take a look at his ownership real quick. I just
want to make sure. Disclaimer: do not do this build if you will not be available to switch your lineups close to kickoff. Although I think he's going to play, Simon.
I think he is too. Yeah. So make sure to hit that like button, get us to 30 likes so I put out the shorter video later on, and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel, hit those alerts. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm at about 760 right now, so I'm only about 240 away, so help me out there. But if we put Achane in the captain, and that is taking into account that situation I talked about earlier with like that injury to Johnson over on the Buffalo side. Now, I'm not a big fan of Hill in general against Buffalo. Spread made some good points with Buffalo having a different defense, but I'm gonna make an assumption here that maybe Hill is being defended like Buffalo typically defends him. They've been able to hold him under 100 yards in all his games while playing in Miami so far. So I'm going to say maybe they have continued success with Hill. And I like Waddle a lot this week. Waddle is kind of on the opposite end. Waddle has had several 100-yard games against Buffalo. So he's had the success where Tyreek has kind of lacked in it. And I'm going to throw Josh Allen in there too, because he's your free square tonight. Like Josh Allen, you're pretty much going to get 25 to 30 DraftKings points penciled in for Josh Allen tonight. So that leaves us with about 16K left, about 5K per guy. I want to get Kincaid or Coleman in just about every lineup, probably one of those two guys, because I think those two guys are going to be the guys who get targeted the most heavily. Let's put Kincaid in there because he's more expensive. That can see what we can do with playing with our salary. Leaves us with 4,400 left spread per guy. This puts us, we got both the kickers as options. Both of these are solid kickers as well. If we wanted to put in one of those guys, like let's put in Bass, since we don't have Tua in the lineup. Leaves us with 4K. If we wanted to put in Sanders instead, that leaves us with 4,400. Either way, you're kind of in this range where you got the Bills, you got Davis, if you believe in him. I'm not starting.
Do you believe in Davis? I'm not.
No, I'm not.
I think I might full fade him tonight, and if he goes off, I'll just cry.
Yeah, I'm full fading too, because you look at James Cook. How long have we been high on James Cook, and the dude never is able to deliver because Josh Allen is getting all those rushing touchdowns. So it's like, what good is Ray Davis going to do you at 3,600? He's not going to do anything for you. And what did he do last week? Did he get any touches? He got 3 attempts for 13 yards and one reception for 14 yards. So Ray Davis at 3,600. That's just egregious. But you got like Jonnu Smith as an option here. You got Knox as an option. You got several other options that you can go to there, but that's I think a pretty good Achane build. But Spread, is there a different direction you would like to go with an Achane build, or what are you thinking there?
No, I like that. I built something similar there.
Okay.
As well. The only difference there is I put I'm having Jeff Wilson in almost every single one, and then I got some Keon Coleman in there as well.
Makes sense.
Do you want to go the other way, and do you want to mess around with the Josh Allen build, Captain? I know it's going to be chalky, but I think for tonight you don't need to be afraid of that because we have so many awesome options.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll necessarily have to worry about duping too much.
Yeah, let's do a Josh Allen build, then let's do a Waddle build, and then I want to do a sneakier build too. So let's do Josh Allen first here.
Okay.
So let's put Josh Allen as
let's see how this turns out.
Okay.
And I'll run it back with Tua. Now I'm at 24 left for 4 people. So we're gonna have to get sneaky here. This is rough. All right, who is the 2 that you want to match him with? Keon and Kincaid?
I'd say so. If I was matching him with 2, I think
actually we're not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not that bad. So now we got 11-1 left for 2 people. We don't have to dumpster dive here.
Right. We could go Waddle like in this situation. If we did Waddle,
yeah,
leaves us with 2,500. That puts us in
Jeff right on my guy.
Yeah,
you land on my guy if you do that.
Yep. So that's a pretty good build for Josh. I don't feel like we're putting in any scrubs or anything. Like if you wanted to swap out Tua, you'd have an option of maybe putting in Achane if he plays in that situation. You could put in Achane, and then you have 2,300. It takes us out of that Jeff Wilson range, though. So maybe if you wanted to swap out like Coleman or Kincaid for someone else, you could mess around with that a little bit more.
Yeah, if I'm switching out, I like Matt Collins there at that price. Okay. Well, we shouldn't ignore Shakir either. Let me do a Shakir build.
What's Shakir's price? Shakir's 62. So we could. He's more expensive than. Okay, so let's take out Kincaid and put in Shakir in that
Yeah.
situation. I mean, that puts you in that Jeff Wilson range, and then you have Jonnu Smith as an option or Dolphins D as well.
All right. I got
So I
you
think
for
I
mine
mean I
so
think
far.
that builds pretty well. Like especially this uncertainty with the Buffalo receivers is going to be huge tonight. If you can find a nugget or something that's going to pinpoint you on one of those receivers where you think that they're going to get a lot of work tonight, then I
Yeah.
would go. I would like commit to that guy. I like Kincaid a lot tonight. He's 7,200 though. He's a little bit expensive, but I also like Coleman for some reason. I got a feeling about Coleman tonight. He could easily bust on us, but like he got that 20% target share last week. He didn't really do anything with it. Let's take a look at his ownership. If I'm looking at Coleman's ownership right now, I'm seeing his total ownership at about like 37%. Captain ownership is down at around 6%. But like I think he has some decent upside like for his ownership. But spread, let's try to do something a little bit different here. Let's take these guys out. Let's put in Waddle at captain.
Okay.
I'm going to put in Josh Allen. Like I said, I'm going to put him in just about everything. And I want to put in Achane. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to fade Tua because Tua never really does well fantasy wise against the Bills. Like he's struggled against the Bills. And I want to put in Achane and Waddle in there, like assuming that maybe Tua is doing dump offs all night, right? He's under pressure. Tua's not good with pressure. He's getting those dump offs off. Waddle ends up doing well. Achane, like he gets a rushing touchdown, maybe gets a lot of the PPR work. On the other side, this is where I think we can get Kincaid in there, where it makes some sense. And then we're left with 4,600 again per guy. This is a situation where we could go. I'm not really high on Cook. Like Spread and I talked about it. Like he's 9K and he never scores touchdowns, but he's solid running back. He just doesn't score touchdowns, which is what we need on Showdown. But this puts us in that Coleman range. We wanted to put Coleman in. Leaves us with 3,500. We can get Jeff Wilson in that build as well. We could get. I mean, Jeff Wilson would make a lot of sense in this build too if we don't have Tua because they're controlling it with running, and like Waddle's the only real receiver that's putting up work. I think Dolphins D would make sense there too. There's a few different options that you have in a build like this as well. So, Spread, did you have any thoughts? Anything you want to try with a Waddle captain?
I mean, I pretty much built exactly what you did right there.
If you wanted to, too, you could take Achane out and put in Tua. Let's say that Achane is not playing. That leaves us with 3,700. You could put in either Jaylen Wright or Jeff Wilson. If you believe in Jaylen Wright, you put him in there. 1,700 left on the table, but you have the option of doing an alternative build where you throw Jeff Wilson in there too. So, I mean, you cover your bases, like there's a lot of uncertainty with what would shake out in that backfield. So that would give you options at least.
All right. I like that.
All right. So now let's do a situation Spread where
let's do a tricky one. We've gone pretty chalky. What if we have some unknown guys show up here and do everything, or lower price guy? I don't want to say unknown.
I want to do one of those situations like we can do one with one of those Buffalo receivers, but first let's try putting Wright in the captain, assuming that Achane is out, and we got a situation where he's going to pick up Wright is going to pick up that receiving work for Achane, and that slot corner is gone for Buffalo, and they're just going to be eating in the slot all night. Let's say with Tua's efficiency, getting the ball out quick, he's beating the pressure for a change. Let's put in Wright in that captain spot. This leaves us a lot more room if we wanted to put in, like several of these high
I did
price
that right
players.
now. I just knocked all. I did Wright, Tyreek, Allen, Tua, Waddle, and you got 664 left.
Jesus. I mean, like, look at what that does for you, man. It like completely opens the book. Like,
Yeah, but the
putting
thing is,
everything
if we find out Achane starting, I'm gonna log in and just completely.
right.
I'll nuke this lineup.
Yeah. I mean, this lineup is worthless if Achane, or whatever you
You know
pronounce
what
his
though?
name.
All I would do is just switch it to Jeff Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that.
Just get the idea of getting all those studs in your lineup, right?
Right.
And if
Right.
Jeff Wilson gets 10 points, like you were talking about earlier, that's an interesting way to have some fun.
Yeah. I think
another fun one, if you want to do that, let's say you guys are crazy, Buffalo's going to win, Buffalo always beats Miami, you could do that with Matt Collins as your captain.
Matt Collins,
just load up everybody.
Yep. So I mean, there's a few cheap, like, this is what I like about this game. I think this might be a game where one of these cheap options is the winner. And we have several cheap options. Let's try one with Coleman. Like, we've done the running backs here. Let's see what we can get with Coleman and the captain. Let's say he was played a significant amount for a rookie on Buffalo. I mean, like, that was to get that target share in that offense with, considering he's never played a game before, like, that was pretty significant. What do you think the deal is with Curtis Samuel before we get into this? He had turf toe. He missed. He didn't really get any work last week except for a couple targets. But what do you think of the Curtis Samuel situation? Like, because I would like him against Miami normally, but I'm just a little bit wary of the turf toe situation. What do you think there, Spread?
Overall, I think he's be fine, but I'm fine staying away from him tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Curtis Samuel's a guy that you can rotate
if you had
into.
a lot in best ball, because I heard a lot of people all summer saying they thought he would be the number one.
Yeah.
But Coleman looked pretty good, man, and Coleman had some great tape coming out of college, so I'm not surprised that he was able to come in and do this right away. So I got Coleman in the captain here. Okay. I mean, you got to put Allen in every time.
Yep. And we want Hill.
Sure.
Or Waddle.
Let's build with Hill, and if we don't have enough money, we'll just double back.
Okay. So we got Hill. We might be able to get one more high price guy. Who do you like?
I like Tua. I know, but I know we want to stay away from him.
We can put in let's do a scenario where Achane is playing in this one first, and then we can do one where he's not. You like Achane?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I like him. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to get away from him.
Okay, so that leaves us with 4,500 basically per remaining guy.
Yeah.
And you want Jeff Wilson, like in just about everything, right, Spread?
Yeah.
All right, so let's put Jeff Wilson in there.
That
leaves us with 6,700. I mean, that puts us in a good spot with Shakir, Samuel. The kickers are both in play. So, I mean, you have options. I think if Coleman is going to be the captain, though, I don't know if I want to have a second receiver, unless it's like Kincaid. I don't mind putting Kincaid in a Coleman captain build, but I want most of those targets concentrated on Coleman, which means that he's running away with it on those receivers. So I think in a build like this, it might make more sense.
When I did mine right now, I had to take Tyreek out and replace him with Waddle.
Okay. Let's try that and let's see what that does for us. Put in Waddle. That leaves, oh my God, like that's like 9,700. We could get like Tua in there.
And see how much fun this is. And you could do 2 or 3 from these, and you can run it back with I don't want to have 0% Cook going into tonight. I got to have him in a couple lineups. I'm not super high on him, but there is the chance. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, because here's why I like him. Etienne looks pretty good, and I would say that they're the same caliber player,
And
right?
Bigsby last week, Bigsby was actually doing something against them.
Was he?
Yeah, here, let me look it up. Hang on a second.
Okay, see, I thought it was another year of wasted Bigsby shares.
No, I mean, like I was shocked because I was high on ETN going in, so I saw the box score. I was like, oh my god, man! I hope that's not a sign for the rest of the season. All right, so last, let me get out of the preseasons here. Where's that game? Okay, Jacksonville versus the Dolphins last week. ETN had 12 carries. He scored 1 rushing touchdown. He had 44 rushing yards. He had 3 targets for 15 receiving yards. Bigsby had 12 rushes for 73 yards. So ETN scored the touchdown, but Bigsby got the yardage in that game, but they both had about 12 rushes each.
So Tank Bigsby shares are finally valuable, huh?
Yep. Yep. Finally.
A year after I drafted him all the time.
So, but I mean, that does give you an indication. Running backs were having success against Miami last week. So, I mean, Cook is a guy that you can rotate in. I mean, you could rotate Tua, you could rotate Cook into this, Kincaid, all those guys.
I would do 3 of them and with it. I mean, well, if you like Coleman.
Yeah.
If you're watching the show and you go, these guys are nuts. Keenan Coleman captain's not going to pay off. Don't do it. But if you agree with us and you think Coleman's a play, I would run all 3 of those. I mean, that's the beauty of this, right?
Yeah.
We're not sitting here on a single entry contest.
Let's swap out Coleman for Kincaid too, just to see what that would do. 7,600.
It'll be about exactly the same, isn't it? They're right around the same.
Leaves us with 7,600.
Oh no, that actually cuts down your options a lot.
Yeah. So we're left there with like Coleman as an option, Samuel, guys like that. Who I don't hate.
Losing out on those top guys though.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean there's a lot of ways that you can go tonight. I think the uncertainty with the Buffalo side is, where you're going to find your opportunity. If you can hone in on one of those guys and maybe commit to them, and you hit on it, then I think you can do really well tonight. But yeah, make sure to hit that like button, get us to 30. Going to have more complete thoughts a little bit later on, and make sure to subscribe to the channel, obviously, so you can set your alerts so you get the alert when the video gets posted. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers, only a couple hundred away from that. Spread, what kind of content do you have coming out today and for the weekend?
All right, I'm going to jump on with Holden on the Nuke the House YouTube channel at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. my time. We're going to review tonight's game from a betting perspective, and we're going to look ahead to the Rams and the Cardinals, as well as the Steelers and the Broncos. This will be from a betting perspective. And if you check my timeline at Spread Astaire, you can find previews for tonight's game, as well as Sunday night's game should be coming up soon. I don't know if that's published yet, but I've written it up and submitted it. So 2 games that I'm really looking forward to from a betting perspective. Spoiler alert, I'm taking the Texans over the Bears. We saw what Caleb, how confused Caleb was, and I think he's going to be fine. CJ Stroud had a rough debut last year. Look how he turned out, right? This is it's a lot of new looks, a lot of new schemes, but he's going to be able to learn fast as well as he's getting all this information thrown at him. So continue to pump out NFL content right now. So follow me on X at Spread Astaire.
Awesome. And I just want to throw into make sure to sign up for an Underdog account using the promo code SEEK. If you do that, they're going to give you a 50% deposit match up to $1,000, which is huge. You don't see those types of deposit matches, especially not in DFS these days. But if you're getting free $1,000, I mean, you can deposit your money now. If you're only interested in best ball, really, you can wait until the playoffs. Just deposit your money now, have that free money in there for the playoffs. And Spread and I crushed on playoff best ball last year as picking those teams that were going to make it to the playoffs in advance. And really had an edge there with advancing teams. Lost on some of the big games, but we were high on Buffalo before they had clinched and everyone had given up on them. And there was a few other teams there too. But yeah, make sure to do that deposit using the promo code SEEK. They'll match you 50% up to $1,000 on your first deposit for new accounts. So thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. And keep an eye out on the YouTube channel for the short video coming out later on today.